So this is my basement garage, and I have a bunch of little projects and nice wall hangings. See, there's the Lotus one. And here's my Lotus. It's a fun little zippy car that I drive around sometimes. Not exactly a project because this is turnkey and it's a really nice little car. And that's my McLaren M6GT-R. It's a replica and it's a really beautiful car. You don't see them around much. I will keep you appraised of what's happening on this car. It's going to be fun once it's done. That's a pretty cool project, right? So you're probably thinking to yourself, hey Chris, where did you get that car from? How long have you had it? What's the story behind it? And why does it look so familiar? Well, have a look at this. I don't know about you guys, but the very first time I saw this car design was in the 1980s on a TV show called Hardcastle and McCormick. Yep, that's it. You remember it, right? The very first time I saw that red car, the Cody Coyote, I was in love. I really was. And I had to have this car when I grew up. That's what I said. Well, I finally found one. So the McLaren M6GT was a car designed and built by Bruce Mclaren. Everybody knows who Bruce Mclaren is. Famous Le Mans racer. He drove in Ford versus Ferrari in that movie, of course in real life. And he designed a lot of beautiful Can-Am cars, and this was one of them. Unfortunately, he died before, he could bring this car to the street. And there were only 4 of them actually built. So in existence, there are only 4 real McLaren M6GTs. The rest are M6GT-Rs. This is very much like those AC Cobras that you see around these days. There are very few original ones. Nearly every other one is a replica. And luckily for me, I have one of these, what they used to call a Manta Montage, made by a company in California that recreated these replicas of the M6GT, named it the M6GT-R, R for replica. Anyways, they are really beautiful cars, and I own one. How cool is that? So I originally found this car in Virginia, sitting in a body shop. And per the owner, it had been sitting there for around 30 years. It had one of those Volkswagen-based pans with a Volkswagen air-cooled engine in it. And that engine was completely gutted. It was just sitting there for years and years, gathering dust. So I bought it for a princely sum, a really small sum actually, and got it to my garage and started ripping everything out. This car was a total mess. Now I had big plans for this car. I wanted to paint it in the same way the Porsche 917 is, with the blue and orange Gulf livery. I think that's one of the most beautiful Le Mans colors ever. And I think if Bruce McLaren was alive, he'd probably have his cars painted that way at some of his races. Anyway, unfortunately he died and here we are. Okay, moving on. So I tore the whole car apart and I decided to put an Audi engine because the Audi 2.0 turbo is a pretty bulletproof engine. It is widely available, lots of spares available. They use the 2.0 turbo motor in a lot of cars, right from the Volkswagen EOS to the Volkswagen Passat to the Volkswagen CC, even the Audi S4, I believe, it's super tuned, the Audi A4, sometimes the A6. But I could be wrong, tell me in the comments, but this is a widely used motor, lots of spare parts available, lots of them available in the market as donors. So I decided to use this one because it would be a perfect fit. The motor itself is a front wheel drive motor and I had to convert it to rear wheel drive. So that means I had to use the same transaxle that you have in an Audi underneath the engine itself. And the transaxle half shafts would go straight to the rear wheels. So I got in touch with a NASCAR fabricator, an ex-NASCAR fabricator. Awesome guy, his name was Dave. He lives out there in Mooresville, North Carolina. And he fabricated this beautiful subframe and rear frame for the engine. And he replaced the entire pan with a fully fabricated metal pan, a little lowered. And it turned out so beautifully, you can see yourself. And I had a Porsche shop, a Porsche speed shop, put the engine in for me and do some of the wiring to set it up with the harness. Because with these new German motors, the wiring, the harness, the ECU is the hardest thing to do to get it all working together. Anyway, here we are. And a year and a half after I first started, we finally got to fire the engine for the very first time. Go for it. Man, hearing that engine run for the first time was so satisfying. It took 2 years, a lot of pain, not to mention a lot of money to get it where it is right now. Next, I had to do body work to get the front of the car to look more like an M6 GT. I bought bucket lights made by some vendors in the fiberglass community, and they're very spot-on reproductions. So I installed the bucket lights and also did a reverse scoop in the front hood so that, I'd get that look that the M6 GT has. The next thing I'd have to do is hollow out 2 intakes in the front of the car. Oh, and I used 2 Dodge Viper hood vents above the wheel wells. Look at that. It looks pretty awesome, right? Hey guys, so here's where we are right now. There's the car in all its glory, Mac. I still have to do the lip on the hood scoop, so that has to still be done. I still have to do the cutouts for these little things down here, and a whole bunch of small little things. Before that, let's do the brakes. And by brakes, I mean convert the old drum brakes to a disc brake, and that's only for the front wheels. As you can see, I've used the disc brakes from the Audi donor car on both sides. Here's the other side. You may have noticed that that's the oil cooler, transmission cooler. Mid-engine cars like this, or rear engine cars rather, have the radiator up in front, and I have 1.5 inch aluminum pipes, two of them running along the underside. Here, let me show you. All right, we are here on the underside of the car. This is the passenger side pan, and look at those pipes. Runs all the way from the rear of the car. You notice there. They run all the way to the front of the car through these little channels that I had built, and they go up into the radiator. Pretty neat, huh? Here's the view from the front. They go up into the radiator, the top and the bottom. Here's the fan. And they go all the way into the back. Yeah, this definitely needs a lot of body work and sanding. This side's been done properly. That side I'm still working on. The front buckets I'm still working on. Quite a journey, right? It's been 2 years and I'm nearly there. So I did the brakes just now, and what's remaining is actually building an entire braking system. It doesn't have any brake lines running from front to back. So I have to build those out, and it doesn't have a brake booster. So I will have to have a small master cylinder above the brake pedal and, you know, use shear force to stop this car. Hopefully it works. I'll probably do that in my next video. So yeah, I have to build the brake lines. I have to get a proper brake master and pedal assembly. Also, I have to connect all the little spaghetti monsters above the engine so I can start filling coolant in. I have a coolant reservoir. I haven't placed that yet. Once that's done, I can actually start the car up and not worry about it heating because of no coolant in it. So I'll do that in my next video, and hopefully once all of that is done, I can take this baby and have her Gulf liveried. It'll look so nice. All right, guys, thank you for taking the time to look at my project. One regret I have is not documenting this the way I did my working on Matilda. I was sort of doing them both at the same time, and this car was, you know, in the shop, in a Porsche shop, getting the engine done, getting the frame built, stuff like that. So I didn't really have access to it completely, but all the work that I did do, I didn't video, you know, I didn't record. So that's one of my regrets. Anyways, c'est la vie. Join me next time. Bye, guys. Oh, subscribe.
Much loved racing driver. And going to the top is just such a car. Qualificatif ultime, séance qualificative, je sais pas,